Hello everyone, welcome to an ARG Presents stream. Tonight I'm going to try to think outside the box, and we're going to be looking at games on this, the Super Retro-cade. This is a little console, not unlike the Nintendo SNES Mini or the Nintendo Mini that promises many games on a tiny little system. I think it was about $68 when I bought it. It includes arcade classics like 1942, 10-Yard Fight, a Heavy Barrel, Karate Champ, a zillion of those, a bunch of console stuff as well, and came with a couple. Here's the back of the box. Came with a couple joysticks, so I thought we'd give it a shot. So first off, we're going to be playing just the plain Jane Retro-cade without any modifications. Doesn't take too long to boot. One of the things I like about the Retro-cade is that it supports both HDMI and composite. So right now we're running through the composite, and the reason I was doing that is to see if there's any speed difference. I played this in HDMI and I've noticed some slowdown. I wanted to see what it looked like, you know, old school, and so I figured we'd give it a shot. So you can see there the games are you know, scaled out to where you can see what's going on. The menu is pretty self-explanatory. It's got the name of the game, and the of course it also has what you need to know about the game. When you hit select, it lets you pick a few options: the volume, the background music we can turn on and off. It also lets you change how the screen outputs, which is important, obviously, and it lets you change how the controller looks. So pretty plain Jane stuff. Like I said, I'll roll through these games here just so you can have a shot at looking at them before we give it a whirl. The system I bought on an You ever lay in bed one night and you're messing around on Amazon, and the next thing you know, you've ordered something that you shouldn't have bought and can't afford, but it shows up anyway. That's exactly what happened here. So we're going to take a look at some of these and see how they play. Right out of the gate, I will tell you that the first thing you need to do in a lot of these is mess around with the screen. We'll try this one as an example. If you just click on this, it'll start right up. There it is. And now you can see that this is a anyone that's played 1943 will tell you that this is a vertical game from the arcade, but that has been stretched to fit our screen. This is a non-starter. So we're going to back out of this, and we're going to change that. And you cannot change it in-game. So we're going to pop right out. So we're going to hit select here, go down to video, original size. Of course, I did it for the wrong game. Let's try that again. There we go. Original size. And now we will give it a whirl. And this should came out. Hey, Hasifa. This should come out looking proper. And there we go. So, I had a couple credits here. This is a pretty good game in the arcade. I have played quite a few of these arcade games, and they are a mixed bag, I guess would be the best way to put it. Whoops, wrong button there. That's a good example. The buttons are in strange places to start. Now the good news is you can change them, and they're not in too weird a spot. It's just instead of having X as fire and Y as the super weapon, it's got them reversed in this one. But again, since they're configurable, it makes it a lot easier to figure out, and you can change it however you want. I think the emulation's pretty good. They are using, from what I've read, and this would make sense, they're using some sort of Android MAME setup. It's I mean for the arcade games, and we'll get into that in a moment, since there's more to this than just arcade games. But the arcade games are playing MAME, and you can tell that real easy. If you hit your start and select, and go to save slot. This does have save states, which is great. You can save them internally or to an SD card. And when you click on one, you can tell right there. Anyone that knows anything about MAME, when you see that little message pop up, that's the MAME's save state message that pops up. We'll go ahead and exit that. So there's no doubt that they're running in a MAME, which of course, I suppose if you're familiar with MAME at all, you'll know that you're probably not supposed to do that, to be honest with you. But you know, people rip off MAME all the time. That's just the way it goes. You've got a bunch of crazy games on here. Now you can select the way these are. You can select the way these are displayed, if you wish, and you can also filter games if you want to. We're going to leave them in the order they're in. So I'm a big fan of Bad Dudes. We covered it on our Amigos show. Let me change the screen to be the proper aspect. And we're going to go through this and play a little bit and give it a shot. Something I'm more familiar with. This has 2-player support, 2 joysticks. The joysticks for this, which are included, 2 joysticks are included. Okay, this is the this is the home port of Bad Dudes, which is one of the wacky things about this set. It actually comes with Bad Dudes twice. I believe this is the NES port, if I'm not mistaken. Plays Blade or Striker. We'll play as Blade. This would be a good way to look at the differences in the. Hey, Henrik. I don't think I ever played this on the home consoles, but I've always kind of dug it. Saturday night. So here we go. Yeah, definitely NES. I used to have this game in my college student center, and I can say that this game was partially responsible for my performance at the college, which was abysmal. I used to play the heck out of this. This, Tetris, and WWF Superstars did me no favors. This is odd. The level is way different than the arcade. Oh gosh, that was quick. So let's get a drink here. I always thought this game was cute. I like Data East stuff. I mean, they have a lot of games that kind of run together, like the RoboCop and this, but usually have a lot of character. I like the fact that one of the that Karnov appears in this game, which if you ever played Karnov, or if you ever played Data East was responsible for some fighting games. If you ever played Fighter's History, I believe Karnov was also, I think he was one of the bosses in that, as I recall. It's been a long time since I played it. I think Fighter's History is actually on here. Now, these are licensed titles from the actual, there's Karnov now. These are licensed titles, so they actually did apparently pay for the licenses to these games, which is, you know, it's weird when you buy this system. I guess if you're buying this to feel better about yourself from not being a dirty pirate, then I don't know. I guess you could get some satisfaction from it. Let's go ahead and try the other one. It's odd to me that they would go out to license the actual ROMs and then use a rip-off MAME to play them. But that's an emulation for you. So we're gonna try the arcade version here and see what we think of that. I'm pretty intimate with the arcade version of this, so we'll know pretty quick if it's any good. All right, the weird sound, it's all here. I remember when this came out and it was asking you to, you know, go rescue President Ronnie. And of course, referring to Ronald Reagan, who's actually in the game. I thought that was unusual, and sort of it was a brazen tactic from Data East to have you rescue the president. I guess if you are if you're not a fan of Ronald Reagan, you could just let the ninjas keep him. So there you go. But heck, Ronnie liked UFOs and jelly beans, so he's okay by me. Go save the sucker. As long as you don't do drugs in the way, you're okay. You don't want to get on Nancy's bad side. Alright. It plays pretty well. One thing I will say up front is as I was getting into it, it comes with 2 white 6-button sticks with 2. They also have 2 shoulder buttons. It's funny because the funny thing about the joysticks is they're in this collection. I don't think there are any games that require that many buttons. So why did they give you that? Well, I have a good idea. I know why, and we'll get to it in a second. Oh, you sucker. I don't like the sticks all that much. Some people say they really like them. I don't get it. I mean, are they the cheapest sticks I've ever seen? No. They're USB sticks, in which, by the way, you can plug them right into a PC. They'll come right up and you can use them. So I guess that's one of the added benefits of this. The ports on it for the joysticks are USB ports, and they will they'll work fine in your Windows PC. Now that said, the joystick, I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it's cheap-esque or cheapish. I'm bad. Me and my kid play this one. At the end of every level, we both do that in unison. That's part of the game. Oh yeah, man. Street Fighter 2's on the docket, bro.
Got it.
Hendrick. So, anyway, so the joystick situation. So now it's not all bad. In a weird way. And it sort of got me to actually play this more and talk about it. There's been a community that has sort of sprung up around the Super Retro-cade here recently. A lot of the guys that are in the community are the same people that work on the Retro Pi, and there's plenty of similarities, as I'll get to. But they've got guys that are testing all kinds of different USB sticks, because believe it or not, this thing supports some off-center USB sticks. And what I mean by that is the stuff that is not made by the guys that make the console. For example, I had an old USB to PlayStation adapter for the PC. I mean, I bought this thing, gosh, a decade or more ago. It was forever ago. I bought it, and just for giggles, because I couldn't find my Super Nintendo to USB controller adapter, so I thought, well, I'll try this one, and it worked. And my co-host Boat gave me a joystick. Let me shoot over to it real quick as I get murdered. Here it is. It's one of these PlayStation Street Fighter sticks, and if you can see, it's very similar to the. Let me grab one of these sticks. Here's the one that came with it. It's 6 buttons with the 2 buttons on top and a start. So it's very similar, but it's like about 1 million times better. And so that's the one I use, and it works great for this. I mean, I just happen to have it. Boat gave it to me, and I sat. It's one of those things I had sitting around, so I just started using it. And it works real well. So Bad Dudes plays pretty well. Let's get something that's going to tax it a little bit. Let's go to Double Dragon. Now, I know you're probably telling yourself, surely this won't tax it, Aaron. You're an idiot. Well, you're half right. It shouldn't tax it, but it does. And so we'll go ahead and give this one a shot. Now, you can tell I've played this one because it was already in the proper screen mode. Yeah, it is a lot like the 6-button Sega sticks, but of a crummier quality. By the way, on these, if you're wondering, to add credits, you hit the select, and then you hit to start the game. You hit start. Again, it's very similar to your basic everyday MAME setup. If you, like for example, if you have a MAME setup on your Retro Pi, your Raspberry Pi, or if you have an arcade machine, that's usually the way it's done. Always love that. The combination, punch the girl, panty shot. Alright, let's give it a shot here. Now, I have noticed on the, when I play this, that it tends to run slow. Now, again, part of the reason I'm doing this is I wanted to see if it made a difference when you switch to, composite out. Now, I can tell you, another thing about this game that is maddening is there's a slight delay when you're playing it. And this is not a screen thing. This is a straight up problem. And you'll see as we get more guys on the screen, it'll slow down a little bit. It's funny, this game is sort of notorious for bugging out these consoles. I mean, you could do worse. This game, when it came out, see how we really went into a crawl here. Oh boy, look at the slowdown there. So, right away, you're going to see a problem with this that you're not going to experience on a computer or on a Raspberry Pi. And that is areas in certain games that have a major slowdown issue. I mean, look at that guy cutting down the ladder. He was so slow. I mean, you can tell just by the frame rate has hit the skids. This is one I wanted to show for sure because I don't know what it is about this particular game from Tecmo that causes trouble, but it has trouble rendering it. Now I've played the other games in the series, and they don't have this problem. It's very strange. Oh man. Oh, poor guy. We'll go ahead and finish this guy off here. Maybe. Need a ball bat. There we go. He's very nimble. Oh. This game was a difficult game. Now look, we're back up to partial speed for a second there as he was flashing on the screen. I love the static cat. Look at that. Even I could dodge that knife. This does make you feel like a ninja or something. You're playing in bullet time. I suspect that the Retro-cade is a little underpowered for some of the games they included. Now, they included, I believe it was like 89 games. It was in the 80s. There was a ton of games that came with it. And you can see why they picked these for the most part. Most of them run pretty well. There's some oddball choices in here. It's funny, they don't really get into too much into the console side, but this thing has the ability to run, multiple consoles. I think there's like just a couple games from the NES. The NES has like the most, I think. The Genesis has a couple, I think, and the Super Nintendo has a couple. It's a very odd. We'll get down through and try some. Would you just get the whip? There it is. I always thought this was really, of all the Dragon Slayer series, this is probably my favorite one. Just because at the time it was such a big deal. The fact that you could go up stuff, climb, there were different ways to go places. Just a fun game. Now, boy, did it spawn some horrible movies and sequels. And just a god-awful fighting game. River City Ransom. Well, yeah, I can understand that. I like the fact that you can throw guys off the ledge. There's a lot of stuff to like in this. The way the weapons worked was like different. It was just an interesting version. Oh, you suckers. We reviewed the entire series of this on the Amigos, and the Amiga did a decent job. The second one is probably the best one, but again, it's another didn't quite get the first one right. People had trouble with this one. I don't know why. And of course, there are some horrible, horrible versions out there. Okay, I've had enough of this. We're moving along. Short attention span theater, guys. Let's see what else we can get into. So, as you can see, there's also two Bionic Commandos. It's odd to me that they would choose two of the same thing. It always strikes me as strange. Let's try Burger Time. This is a game I've played quite a bit of in the arcade. Now, this is the NES version, which I'm not sure I've ever played. So we'll give this one a whirl. I'll have a drink before this one. Okay. Well, it's ugly. Here we go. This game was a lot of fun. When it first came out, I thought, man, what a clever game. Whoops. It's a little touchy. Have to get used to the rhythm. These hamburger patties look green. These are not appetizing, that's for sure. I will say, much like in the arcade, it's hard as hell to get him to go up and down ladders. Oh boy. It's going to take some adjustments. I would have preferred as a, of course I didn't see it, so I'm assuming it's not here. I would have definitely preferred the arcade version of this, which I think is probably a lot better. The NES got some good quality ports, so I mean, I'm not saying this is one of them, but I did get some. Okay. The key to this is not getting caught on these stairs. That is funny, man. It is exactly the same in the it's exactly the same in the arcade, man. Yes, the Intellivision version of this wasn't bad. It's one of the rarer titles on the Intellivision. It never appears on any of the on any of the ports because of the licensing stuff, as far as I've heard. Okay, I'm not gonna pay him for that. I didn't like it. Also, this hamburgers just look nasty. That's part of the game. Horrible. That's an oversight. You'll notice that when I quit a game, it starts me back at the top. I'd like to have had it go, put me back in the right spot. So now let's get to a game that one of the few games that requires 6 buttons on here, and a game that I've owned. I may still own it. I may still have this board, the arcade board, Fighter's History. Now, a lot of people poo-poo this game. Actually, let me back out and put it in the right resolution. A lot of people poo-poo this game, but man, I always dug it. It was a Street Fighter clone, probably the first, or amongst the first Street Fighter clones, and it was an awesome game, man. It had a lot of cool characters. They had some interesting stuff in it that the original Street Fighter didn't have. Oh, 1 second here. It has a gimmick where you knock off the other person's clothes. I know that sounds stupid, but it's true. So this is, gosh, I didn't even look to see what version this was. I think this is the Super Nintendo version. So we'll give it a shot. Now, my favorite character in this, let's see, is probably Ray. But I'll tell you who I like. I like her. This guy's pretty entertaining, and I like this guy a lot. He's an interesting character. We'll see him. So we'll give this a whirl here. Yeah, vegan patty. That's what it looked like, man. Okay. Let's give this a whirl. We'll see how it plays. Now, this is another game I was pretty intimate with from the arcade, so we'll see how this port works. Let me see where my buttons are all at here. Okay, so this one they've got the heavy power buttons on the top, which is which is okay. I can live with that. I don't care enough to change them. Oh man, this guy's tough out of the gate. There we go. I liked Ray because he does this. Puh, DDT. Cruel but fair, as Jake the Snake would say. Oh man. I'll get those off eventually. Uh-oh, when you miss that, you got a problem. Oh, Hurricane Rana. That slide's nasty. Shoot. Now, one thing I'm noticing here is... Okay, now there it goes. See the little lightning bolt on my chest? That is basically my weak clothing point. If I get hit there again after it's glowing like that, then I'll lose that. And that's when you're stunned. Oh man, I'm tearing into that. The Feathered Rose. This feels pretty good. Like I said, I'm not sure. This is the game. I'm sure some of you have heard this tale many times, but this is the game that got taken to court by Capcom for being too close to Street Fighter, which you can understand. But of course, nowadays, if you think about it, how many games have ripped off Street Fighter over the years? I mean, if you're going to call them a rip off, because I mean, really, every fighting game is effectively the same thing. Beat a guy till his energy bar runs out. But Capcom took Data East to court over it, and Data East won. The court was like, listen, Capcom, you can't have reign over... I mean, that'd be like saying, I'm going to license platforming. All platformers are mine. That's effectively what would have happened. And I often wonder what the fighting genre would have been like if that had happened. You know, because it would have changed things dramatically. I mean, Capcom went on to have a lot of great fighting games, and clearly, but you know, we could have had nothing but Capcom games. Come on, there it is. I like to get in loose, but this guy. Oh shoot! Sorry guys, keep doing that, don't I? Oh. See, I blew it right there. I had him. Now see the. I noticed I haven't seen the clothing lighten up. I'm starting to wonder if they actually are doing that in this. Come here. Oh man, I thought I could get him. There it is. Got him. Yes. Yes, Hendrik asked if I've seen Street Fighter, the animated movie. I have. Yes, I have. And without getting too graphic, I didn't think it was great. I distinctly remember the Chun-Li Vega battle as a young man, which was certainly the people that made that movie decided to fulfill a lot of fantasies when they made it. This girl is tough. Now she's the Judokai in this, and she does a lot of nasty throws. As I asked for that. I tried to. She's tough to throw, for the obvious reason that she's a. Oh man, and those throws do a ton of damage. Ah, oh, see, I thought I could catch her. I gotta stop. I'm sitting on those throws. I love the monk out there waxing the porch. Oh boy, that is a brutal throw. Get off me. Yeah. I mean, if she catches you, let's see if I can just get old school. I will say that the arcade version plays a little quicker than this. Oh man, she's trying to work her way in. Oh, son of a gun. Well, still, I think it played pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with that overall. So if you're into fighting games, you're not going to be wholly satisfied by this particular console. Really, in all honesty, that is probably one of the better fighting games on there. There are not a ton. It does have the sequel. Wow, in Japanese. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't notice that. The sequel is better. It's a fun game, but it's not very well known. You've got your Final Fantasies. That would be an interesting bit of piracy. You have your Final Fights in here. Now, I believe these... Let me see here. I think these are all consoles. I think these are the NES... let's see. Yeah, that's an NES title. I think these are both NES titles. And I think this is the arcade. Yes, because this has a Capcom license, believe it or not. We'll scroll down through here. You got your ghosts and goblins and ghouls and ghosts. Gunsmoke. Pretty funny game. If you guys see anything you want to see, just let me know and I'll give it a shot. Heavy Barrel's an interesting game. We used to have it at the pizza shop I worked at, and it's one of those games that has a rotary controller that you use to pivot your guy as he moves to fire. And this one does not play. I've never played a home version of it that was any good. And it's not, I mean, I'm sure they play fine. It's just the fact that without the rotary joystick, you're missing out on a big chunk of the game. Basically, what it did was effectively it allowed you to shoot and move like you would in Robotron with one joystick. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Again, these are some more. I think these are all Super Nintendo stuff. Now, this is another game that is going to not be easy. Some of these I'm surprised that they added, because Karate Champ is a game that requires 2 joysticks. Now, I'm assuming this is the arcade version. Let's have a look. Yeah. So this is an arcade game that required 2 sticks. Now, what they've done here is they've mapped kicks to the face to the buttons. They've used those, but I'm not a big fan. Yeah, 8,1, dude. I'm not a big fan of playing it that way. Someone asked about Gunsmoke. Now, this is a pretty interesting game. When I first saw this in the arcade, I thought it was based on a TV show. So that shows you what I know. I'm that old. But that was a big deal. That show was a big deal back when I was a kid. Let's give it a shot, since it was requested. Alright. We'll see how it plays. I'd say I haven't played this one yet, and I'm certainly no great shakes. But we'll give it a whirl here. Alright. Now your guy's perpetually walking forward. And hopefully there's a gun upgrade in my future. And I do apologize for sucking. Let's warn you ahead of time. This has buttons that will let you move from the sides. Let's get up here. Oh, right into a bullet. This may be a short game. Sorry, Henrik. I'll do the best I can, man. So in this, you've got buttons that go to left, right. Now the buttons are in a kind of an odd spot. It's one of those things where, would you get used to these buttons in this spot? Maybe. The problem with a lot of arcade games, it's not a problem. It's just they weren't meant to be played on a controller that was in your hand. They were meant to be played on a control panel. And so when you translate that at home, it is difficult to come to grips with. And I'll use Tron as an example of a game that you really need a dial on that game. If you don't have one, you're not really playing it the way it was meant to be played. And it's not just that. There's plenty of them that are like that. I'll get further. It makes it difficult. And you can see that was a pathetic display. Yeah. I don't have the jack. I'm definitely not like the Rifleman. I'm more like Don Knotts. If you're into the Apple Dumpling Gang, that'd be a horrible display of gun smokery. Now, I have waited a long time for this game to get a fully licensed release, and that game is Exciting Hour, known in America as Map Mania. This game, dare I say, I am the Daddy Mac and the Mac Daddy of this game. I'm good. So I'll now humiliate myself by giving it a shot. Now, I've played this quite a bit in the arcade. Plus, I own the arcade board for this. Still do. And have played it to death. Now, ideally, I'd like the punch button first and then the kick button, so inevitably it's going to be reversed, and it is. So they've gotten those reversed. So this game is strictly a wrestling game, and I'll tell you one thing I noticed is I played this the other night, and one thing I've played it enough times to know what the difficulty is set on it, if it's set on like above normal, and I believe this one is, because the computer is doing stuff it would not normally do at this level. Like that reversal is a good example. The unfortunate thing is, to the best of my knowledge, there is no way to actually monkey around with the dip switch settings, which would have been awesome. Honestly, it would have helped too, because some of the games could really use. It's nice to be able to set it lower or higher, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, so we can get this right. Whoops. Yeah, no, that was me hitting the wrong button. Whoops, stop. He ain't kicking out of that. My buddy and me were so good at this that we'd go to the mall and we'd play 5 or 6 games, and we'd leave messages for each other in the high score tables. And that was our little goal to come back in and try to wipe those messages out, because they were usually not flattering messages. Let's put it that way. But again, this is another one complaining about button placement. You know, you've got the option to change it, really. So I'm just not doing it now for brevity. But let's drop this guy on his head a few times. Uh-oh. Oh. This guy, if you're into wrestling at all, and I'm sure 1 or maybe 2 people that will ever see this this guy is your classic Great Kabuki style character. Now, that was early in the fight to hit his mega kick. That's another thing that leads me to believe that this is on a higher level of difficulty than you would normally find. So usually, once you get them down, I mean, there are different techniques, but once I'm at the 50-minute mark, or about the 2-minute mark, the 50-minute mark. Yeah, once you play for 50 minutes, you're good. His name was Karate Fighter. Oh, the Superkind. You're talking about Alex Wright. Das Wunderkind? That's who maybe you're talking about. So this guy is your classic crazy jungle or Samoan guy. He's got the hard head. All the stereotypical baloney that wrestling love to wrap itself in, and to a certain extent still does. And you know, I kind of like that stuff because I grew up with it, but I can see that time is fading. Now see how cheap this guy is. I literally can't do anything. This is the first point that I'll be able to gain any sort of control. Now I didn't get it. So this guy is the cheapest, most difficult guy in the game. He does a shoulder block that's brutal. And he is nasty, and he won't pin me here, but he is very tough. Now, on a proper machine, I would take this guy to school, but with what's going on, I would just probably get murdered here by this guy. And he's very smart too. That makes him tough. You know, but the number one thing that makes him tough is when he can crack you on the head with that headlock punch. Because there's nothing you can do about it. He can just grab you over and over. It's quite irritating. I might be able to cheap out and beat him. No, I'm screwed now. He'll also, yeah, I was going to say, he'll grab your feet, and he'll even throw you out of the ring with that move. I mean, he's real violent and brutal. But he's by far the coolest guy in the game. That should be the end of me. And it is. But not bad. Not bad. The difficulty level being monkeyed with, that's kind of a bummer. And you can't do anything to change it. Now, is there a way to monkey with some sort of save file or something? I don't know. Not that I'm aware of, but maybe that's something someone's working on. Okay, so let's move down to some more fan-friendly stuff. Mercs is another game that's going to be kind of tough to bring to the house. It's another game I used to own. And another game they decided to put on here twice. The fact that they put some of these things on here twice, I just find odd. You've also got Mega Man on here, Mega Man 2 and 3. Again, interesting. I mean, popular titles, you know. Mighty Final Fight, which apparently is a pretty expensive cartridge for the NES, is on here. Let's play as a shooter here that I have a capability of not completely sucking at. You've got some real duds on here. Street Fighter 210 is not my favorite. Again, 2 of these. That's strange. Very, very strange. Super Burger Time. Now, here's an unusual title. Super Dodgeball is another great game that was I used to play. That's a pretty fun one. Let's go with, let me see here. Gosh, we're at the bottom here. Let's go with one of the R-types. Those are pretty popular. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do well at them, but we'll try one. And then we're going to get into some of the more crazy things you can do with this thing, which is probably why it's gotten so popular. So we'll just play R-Type 3. I think this is a Super Nintendo title. Let's look here. Yeah, it is. It is. And let me go and change the screen on this. Alright, we'll give this a whirl. Alright. We reviewed the R-Types on IRAM. There's another people they like outfit that they licensed on here, obviously. I've got to say I've not played this. Let's see if there's an option for dumb guy, which is what I would need to play this on. Holy smokes, even this is complicated. Okay, well they do have it geared up for controllers. So, okay, well we're just going to leave it the way it is. I'm not going to screw with that. Good lord. I'll tell you what, that's a heck of a game where you have to go through all that rigmarole. Ooh. Okay. Let's go with Round Force. One thing about the R-Types is you always get the really kind of neat weapon selections and varied weapons of it. That's always cool. Wow. This is actually pretty good looking, you know. Alright. Okay, the buttons. This time we're using the A and B buttons. Okay. This looks really good. Oh, here we go. Holy smokes, I can't even hardly tell what's happening. That is a lot going on. Oh, yeah, back guns. Not bad. So this is playing real well. I mean, there's a lot going on, and it's running. It seems to be running at, I mean, at a very good speed. Having not played this before, I couldn't tell you if it was running at the super fastest speed, but it looks pretty good. Bastion Booger. Holy smokes, Hendrick. Of all the people to come up with. Alright, get Super Beam. Oh, jeez. It might be a short game, y'all. Alright, let's try this again. It's funny, on the Amiga version of that, the Super Beam is actually on the same button as your regular fire. I don't know if that's different in the arcade every time, or that's just something that was different for this game. Wow. Oh, that was a short game. For what it was worth, it seemed like it was playing pretty well. So, with that in mind, we're going to pop back out of here. Now, here's the real main reason this has become a popular console. I'm going to flip it off for a second here as I lean forward. And I'm going to insert my SD card. Turn it back on. And so, we're going to get the logo, and it's going to boot back up. Now, what this has is an SD card slot. Why does it have one? Well, it's something that is becoming more and more commonplace. This will allow you to run your own games on it. Now, this particular batch of games, I give credit to a outfit. They do a lot of work, as I mentioned, on Retro-cade. They're putting together game packs for this system. The game packs are not necessarily difficult to do. You can do them yourself. It's just some naming things you have to go through on your card. And you also have to, if you want art, you have to add art in a certain way. And so it's much easier to have someone else do it. Now, that said, I tried doing this. I took a big chunk of my main catalog and stuck on a card, put it in here, and went through and tried playing them. Well, guess what? It was a colossal pain in the butt. They kept crashing. They kept not working. Some would work, some wouldn't work. But the bottom of the truth was it was too big a hassle for me to bother with, so I put this thing on the back burner. Well, these guys have meticulously went through and found out what works and what doesn't, and they have put out a pack. Now, this particular pack, they've added 250 games to the 89 or 83 games that came with it. Let me see exactly how many games it says comes with this thing. Not over 90 games. So there you go. So this is in addition to those 90. This is another 250, and the promise of more games to come. So not a bad thing. Among the many things they put on here, they have the ability to put Super Nintendo, Nintendo Genesis games on this console. This is strictly an arcade pack, and as such, I don't have anything on here that's from the consoles. If I wanted to, what I'd probably do is make a separate card. When you get this many games, scrolling through them can be sort of a hassle, and you can see why. It's a lot of games. I have played some of these games, and some work better than others, honestly. Some are slower than others. You can see there are plenty of games here. I mean, what they've done is they've rolled in the games that came with it with other games. And you'll like there's Neo Geo titles on here as well. These are all arcade games. So, are they going to play? For example, if I play their version of Double Dragon, is it going to play better than the one that's built in? No, is the answer. It's not. But they put it on here so you don't have to go. You can just basically leave your card in. They just left the 90 games on here. So I think these are 250 games on top of the 90 that came with it. So with all that in mind, let's go run something that will give the system something to sink his teeth into here. So we're going to roll down here and try some old-fashioned Street Fighter, just to start off. Street Fighter 2, we all know it. Now you can see they've put Street Fighter 1, 2, Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, and 3 on here. I believe Super Street Fighter's on here as well. We're just going to play Street Fighter 2 since it's the one that I'm most familiar with of the series. We'll go ahead and put it in the original size. And this should give us an idea of the how fast this thing will go. Hey, John. I think I just saw you, dude. So, Street Fighter 2 is the perennial fighting game that we all know and love. I remember playing this on an emulator way back when an emulator called Callus came out and was one of the first ones that really emulated it at home. And so it's come a long way. Let's give it a whirl. Okay. I am going to play Blanca. And we'll see how they've got the buttons mapped out here. Looks great. Let's see here. Okay, now one thing I can tell you right off the bat on this one is the buttons are in different places. So when you're going to play a game on this with the added ROMs, you're going to have to go through probably, especially a game that has the complexity of this one, and you're going to have to go through and reconfigure where you want stuff. No big deal, and thankfully it does save your reconfigured file. This might be running a touch slow, in my opinion, and I'm not having a lot of luck with it. I wonder if these are going to be something you're going to want to go back to too often. These really complex games. Just because, I mean, again, it runs at a pretty good clip, but it's not, I don't know if it's perfect. And I'm having trouble getting any moves off, which is not good. It makes me wonder why. See if we can get anything going here. There we go. And I also, once again, I think the difficulty's turned up. If you've played these games a lot, you can sort of tell. There we go. Hey, Jonas. I always like this level. I thought the level selection, the backgrounds, and the characters. I mean, there's a reason why this game stuck around for so long. It's just a great game. We talked about this the other night in my fighting game stream. It just sort of saved the arcades. I mean, truth be told, oh man, I'm a big Sim fan too. I mean, I remember going to arcades before this came out, and they were lacking. You know, let's try one of the other fighting games if you guys will indulge me, and we'll try another one here. What did you guys in chat think? Did you guys think that was running at the appropriate speed when you saw that coming out? Again, this isn't emulated on the computer. This is on the Super Retro-cade, so you know there shouldn't be any slowdowns due to streaming or anything like that. It should be running at the appropriate speed. Let's try. Let's see if Super is on here. I see a lot of good stuff to try. Yeah, I don't see Super, so they must not have had that one in. Let's see if they've got any of the Marvel or X-Men versus Street Fighter or X-Men. Children of the Atom. Here we go. X-Men versus Street Fighter. We'll try this one. Yeah. No, there's no Raspberry Pi in this one, Jonas. I've heard this is an Android-based emulation box. So now we're going to try X-Men vs. Street Fighter, another great version. And we'll see how this one fares. Again, ignore my playing ability. Again, my the buttons are not configured the way I'm used to them, so your mileage is going to vary. Let's see here. You know, I've got to. I always play Cyclops, and normally I would. I love. My favorite team is Cyclops and Captain America, but since he's unavailable, he's not a mutant. I'm going to be playing Akuma. Let me see if the buttons are in the same wacky places that they were. Yeah, they are. Okay. Oh man. Now this, I'll have to say, this seems speedy. There we go. It'll be interesting to try to tag out here. I don't know where my mediums are at. Oh, there we go. This seems really fast. Does this seem fast to you guys? I mean, I put it on turbo, but this is insane. This has got to be faster. Okay. Oh no. Tag out. I love Rogue. There we go. This looks great. The backgrounds look nice. Now again, I'm playing with the, and I haven't seen anyone do this. I mean, again, this thing's got built-in HDMI. So normally you'd have to be an idiot to not use the HDMI. So here I am, the idiot. And part of it was because I usually use this composite capture thing, but also I really wanted to try it to see if it sped things up. And I have to wonder if it sped. I mean, this is super duper fast. That seems way faster than I'm used to. I mean, you could, yeah, but you know, maybe not. All right. So let's get to something a little less taxing. We've got up here Let's see. And you can see there's a ton of Neo Geo stuff in here. That's a good thing, because Neo Geo is great. Oh, there's Super Street Fighter 2. Something else, these aren't necessarily in the perfect alphabetical order. I should mention that. In fact, there's Street Fighter 2 Turbo by its lonesome. So, and there are and the reason, excuse me, the reason for that is because these things are sorted by their MAME ROM names, which are shortened, and so from what I could tell, there was no way to get around that because again, this is running MAME. They can put a front end on it, but that's what it is, and so. When you're running MAME, you play by MAME's rules, and MAME's rules are those crazy shortened names that go back to the 8-character days of DOS. So there's not much can be done. Now again, you're looking at some games on here that you're not going to run well. I just saw Road Blasters go by. There's some here. Oh, here we go. This has been a perennial streaming favorite, so we're going to try it out. Let's see how this plays. It looks, of course, looks great. So let's give it a shot here. Attempt fate. Where's my punch button? There it is. Another one that would probably want to be remapped at some point. Oh, shoot. Yeah. These streams always make me look horrible. I swear to God. Okay. Oh. Screw this. Let's just kill him. Pooh! Eat liquid doom. You know, I loved Popeye as a kid, but I know this is a stunning revelation, but I just could not get into spinach, y'all. Alright. This seems to be playing okay. Oh, man. Kim Ace is getting me there. This is okay. If any of you guys in the chat see me playing one of these and you think it's not running as well as I do, let me know. I think that one looked okay, though. That looked pretty good. So, let's see what else we've got up here. Pooh Yan, great game. Pingo, tremendous game. These games should not be taxing to this thing. By the way, if anybody has any requests, just feel free to, yell them out there. Oh, this controller, John, that I'm using is a PlayStation. It's a PlayStation controller. I believe the name's written here. It's Street Fighter 15th Anniversary. Capcom made it. It was PlayStation. I don't know which one it was out on, but it's a pretty good. It's not the best stick, but for this, it does a good job. So I like it. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. There's a lot of good titles. I've had a lot of people ask me. Oh, the Ergo, yeah. So, a lot of people have asked me about this. How does this stand up to a Retro-Pie? Try Mr. Do. And, oh, see right there. That's forgot to change the screen. The Retro-Pie, and we're not going to get into the legality of it. Because if you're using the Retro-Pie for if you're using the Raspberry Pi for Retro-Pie, you know the legality and you're doing it, and it is what it is. That said, number one, this is legal for the most part, and number two, it comes with the sticks. It's ready to go. You plug it in, it's good. It's also got composite and it's got an HMI. Those are all good points. That said, in terms of an emulation device, in my opinion, the Raspberry Pi blows this thing out of the water, and it's not just because the Pi can play more games, which it absolutely can. The main reason is it's just the pie is faster. You know, I mean, I know, duh. I know you're all shocked to hear this, but the pie is faster, and that means something. I mean, when you're playing these games, the last thing you want is to see slowdown. You know, and the pie is fast. And even if the pie is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, get off me. No, you stupid thing. Why won't you die? Oh, I got problems now. Oh, I couldn't turn around in time. This is playing good, you know. This is playing pretty good. It's not the best. Something else I've noticed is the pie gives you a certain resolution and screen and scan lines and that sort of thing that you can't get from this. But again, having labored on a pie to get a great setup, I mean, there's certain... It's the old adage, how much is your time worth, right? Would I buy one of these if I wasn't whacked out of my mind on a board on a Friday night scrolling through Amazon? Maybe not. But you know, it's fun, and the packs make it a little bit better. I mean, the built-in games aren't bad. Let's see what else we got here. Now, this is an interesting game here. We haven't done a like a run around Konami joint, and I believe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is on here as well. I haven't tried hooking a keyboard up to this thing. I've oft wondered if I could hook one up, hit tab, and get into the MAME, get into the config files and stuff. This is a wacky game, and my kid loves, based on and what ended up being a cartoon, a short-ran cartoon. I think it was a comic book as well. A lot of people haven't heard of it. I'm sure some people have. But it's a fun game for kids, especially. The kid really likes it. Oh, I see. Then you got to use your bull powers. Colorful game, playing fine. I mean, I don't see any problems with it at all. It looks great. Yeah, Jonas is right. Jonas points out that part of the trouble with the Android-based hardware is the manufacturer may or may not have optimized it for Android in the first place. Correct. Listen, I've played a lot of these games on low-end hardware, and I mean, stuff that even like the Pi even occasionally will have trouble running stuff, but it's light years ahead of. I mean, if you've been around for a long time since the early days of emulation, I mean, we were running this stuff on much crummier systems than what we've got now. But again, you're dead on. They're not optimized. I've noticed that MAME, I mean, good example. If you've got a Nintendo Wii, the Wii is a great emulation device. You can emulate all the Nintendo properties with it very well. Genesis, a bunch of that stuff. But for whatever reason, it's got a horrible version of MAME, and it was just never kept up, and it sucks. I mean, yes, can you play Pac-Man or yes, you can, but a lot of stuff you just can't play, and it's basic stuff that's been emulated for years. They just never got around to making it better. You know, and I'm wagering that the MAME team have more important things to do, and in this case, you're also this probably doesn't make the MAME team happy. Let's just put it that way. MAME doesn't license their software, obviously, and when you have someone that's effectively basically selling you did the work, they're making the money, and you've also specifically told them not to do that, it will probably anger them. Oh, shoot. This game's got an interesting sense of humor as well. Now, you notice there I disappeared. That's something I've seen. I don't recall that happening. It's not supposed to happen when you just go away after you're hit. I will say this is not one that I had the arcade board for, but I've played it a ton of times, and that's something I often see that on stuff where the emulation runs into a little trouble. I think I can get this guy. Uh-oh. There's some pretty wacky characters in this. Also, 4 players. Another aspect of this we should probably touch is that there is no way to play those 3rd and 4th players. I mean, you're going to be playing 1 or 2 players, which is a shame that it's a cheap system. So you can understand how they just didn't put 4 USB ports on there in support for 4 players. But given some of the titles that they could have put on this thing, it would have been awesome. Of course, again, this is something that is not coming with the system. This is one of the added games. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, you got that right. No 6-man arcade, Hasifa. Yeah, that's right. Mega Man 2 is not. In fact, here it is. Shall we give it a shot? Of course, it's going to be stretched out. There we go. Boy, that's a dead giveaway. Yeah, this is... A lot of people don't know that Mega Man got released in the arcade. And your mileage may vary on whether you think this is a good thing or not. I've never been a huge Mega Man guy, so I can't tell you how blasphemous this is, if it's bad or not. This looks like a fighting game. Yeah. So, if you want a Mega Man fighting game, which seems like a bad idea to me, giving the roots of Mega Man. I don't know how many buttons this thing is too. It looks like it's 2 buttons. So jump and run. So you've got a 2-button fighting game with Mega Man versus Shadow Man. Oh crap! Oh, I got my dog. Now if I can make him do something, we'd be laughing. I guess then bounce off of him. That's kind of lame. Ugh. Up into Mega Man. So there you go. Didn't expect to be playing that one tonight. Let's see what else we can dig into here. There's another weird one. Mars Matrix, another strange Capcom, lesser known Capcom fighter. It looks like they've represented all the major Capcom fighting games before Street Fighter 3 pretty well. Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes. You've got a lot. Of course, we've already played X-Men vs. Street Fighter. So, if we're into fighting games, you could definitely add an element to it. So let's try a Neo Geo game. Let's see here. What do we got? Now, I can tell you my personal favorite Neo Geo game is Neo Turf Masters. You'll probably get that a lot if you ask. But we'll try something else. Let's try, I believe I saw Samurai Showdown 2 one here. Now, that's one I'm pretty intimate with. There it is. And 3 and 4. Now, Samurai Showdown's a game that peaked here, in my humble opinion. And never got better. But we'll see. I've seen a lot of people playing with the Super Retro-cade, you know. But you need, and you surely can't see everything. But they haven't talked much about, like, I've been surprised at the lack of mention of the flaws of the system and how much they've put over the joystick. If you're someone that watches this down the line, I mean, again, I just don't think the joystick's that good. If you're a serious player, then you want to sit down and play these games and feel like you're getting it done. If you're going to get this, I would have another idea for a stick. Again, there are plenty of USB sticks that'll work in this thing. Do some research. Watch a video or two about the different joysticks they tried, and it'll give you a good basis. Okay. The Retro-cade joysticks are USB, yes. I'm interested to see how the button layout is for this. Again, this is my favorite guy, with this guy coming in a close second. And this guy, a close third. Oh, I guess we're going to play him. Caffeine Nicotine. I remember when this came out, I was really impressed with the music and the oddball characters and the fact that you had weapons. I'm a big fan of Okio. He won't look at you. He's so vain. And you're so much under him. He won't acknowledge you. What a jerk. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Okay, these are okay. Now these are. You've got your. We can live with these. Oh. Oh man! Right out of the gate. I like the fact that this guy has magic. And as a little bald man myself, I empathize with this guy. His horrible kicks. I mean, as an offense, the guy's not an offensive juggernaut, that's for sure. One thing about this game is you capitalize on your opponents when they screw up, and it's. Here, eat that. I like the fact that occasionally the judge will throw, or food will appear, or whatever. There you go. I'll take that. I like the fact that you've got super moves, which was what that was. It'll break your weapon if it hits. It adds an element to it. Oh, man. Sorry, pal. Hit the bricks. If you've ever seen Gymkhana, they've got ninjas in that with flags that stand around the fighting area and give you a flag if you're good or bad. I love that movie so much. Holy smokes. Every time I see these ninjas, I'll think about that movie. Wow, okay, so he broke my awesome old man cane. I'll get it back shortly. There it is. Which I jumped away from it. Oh. Just catch him in the way in here. Get off me. There it is. See if I can make a comeback. Oh, that sweep, I'm not. Yeah, I knew I was boned there, man. When you miss that, you're screwed. Hi, Dan, and I have to agree with you, man. Yeah, you're not gonna get you're not gonna get dragons later on this, John. That's a non-starter. Daphne's a very specialized bit of emulation. Oh, thought he was stunned. Dadgummit. Get off me. Oh, now I'm stunned. Oh! I have to agree with you, though. I mean, and again, what worries me, and by the way, I will say this, and I can't say this with any credibility except for my just common sense. Oh, man. If these games are running a smidge slow and they're outputting composite, I don't see any feasible way they will be faster in HD. And I've played a lot of these games already, and arrogant punk. There are some slowdown issues. Let's put it that way, or just they don't run at a quick speed. And you had the issue and I've had a couple games that were like X-Men vs. Street Fighter where they ran really fast, which is odd. Any requests in here? I'm more than happy to try out anything you want to look at. I mean, I feel like I'm bad-mouthing this thing too much, given the, given the price, Let's try Raiden. Pretty popular shooting game. And we forgot to switch the screen. By default, and unfortunately we've not found a way to change this, every game is made to go to full screen. And by the way, I should point this out. And next time we go in, I will. There's resolution settings in there you can also tinker with. Oh yeah, John, I understand. So I always liked this game. I'm not good at it, but I liked it. There's some awesome firing in this. Another game that lets you pick up some really cool weapons. Oops. Okay, we know what that does. So we're off and running here. Now this. again, may be running, and maybe it's mental. So one of you guys in the chat room confirm it. This also may be running a smidge slower than it should. Now, something to bear in mind, all these games do not come with the system. So if you're buying this system just to play the 90 games that it comes with, you could probably disregard this, although we've already proven that happens on those too. But if your plan is to put these in, you know, there's a reason why they weren't supported. Either they didn't get the licensing, which is the majority of them, or maybe they just didn't think they ran well enough to have those put with the system. I always think about these games like this where these guys are you're just wiping out wave after wave of these machines, and it's like, man, what kind of resources these people have to keep dumping? I mean, think of all the stuff you're blowing up. I don't know what their land they're holding, but I mean, they must have an endless military budget. I'd like to get the blue. Eventually, that turns into something awesome. Excuse me, guys. Bad time to sneeze. Oh gosh, this is one of the early, at least as far as I'm concerned, the bullet hell things, and which again, I am certainly not the man at those type of games. I mean, as quick as I like to do it was like Xevious. It's more my speed. But I do like this game just because it's visually pleasing. And it was one of the first games I got that I thought that I could get on Windows that played halfway decent. I remember the Windows version. I remember it was Japanese too, and I had to get past the fact that I didn't have a Japanese language set installed or didn't know any Japanese. And once you lose that power up, though, you can often do wow. Yeah, I agree with you, Haspy. I see that it does go up and down. Yeah, John, that was my C64 Pi. John was over here at the house last night, and I showed him some of my stuff here, and I fired up my Raspberry Pi and showed him some Dragon's Lair. So let's go to the next game. We will go into the resolution settings. Let's just pick something really random. Let's try Phoenix. I always liked this game. In fact, my buddy loved this game so much he bought the arcade machine. So resolution settings. Now, it won't let me go into that. So it could be a case where this game. Let's try another game real quick and see if it'll let me go into that. Let me pick one here that's larger. Now it may be something that affected it only on that will only happen if you're on HDMI. I have not ever fooled with it, and I just noticed it. Yeah, so we'll probably have to do HDMI to see what that does. So that's something else to know. If you're gonna plan on playing this on a CRT TV or with the composite, apparently that's a non-starter. But we will go ahead and go to original size on this one and give this a whirl. I remember when this game came out, it had, if you're not familiar with it, it's a fighting game with the crazy birds, and it was always, yeah, sorry John, it was always I always thought it was a cool game. I like the music too. And I also, oh shoot, right out of the gate. The fact that you had shields in this was cool. This is basically, oh god, I swear to you guys, I'm not this bad at this game. The fact that the birds looked like real birds. I don't know if any of you guys remember a game that was out. It was on multiple systems. It was, son of a gun. It's called Demon Attack. And I think Demon Attack was directly related. Yeah, we're going to try that one again. That is horrible. I couldn't dodge nothing. Yeah. Okay, let's try this again. One thing about this game is the fact that the guys move so strangely. And they drop their bullets in like a barrage of bullets. And they will be more than happy to kamikaze you. There we go. Now this level, I always like to get right in the middle. Let me get past it. Let me get to the bird level here. That's what I'm talking about. This last couple can be a pain. This seems to be running Okay. Now, this is not one where I would think that there would be any problem. This is one of the early games supported by the original MAME. Now, this one, it's been my experience, if you get right here in the middle, you get your best shot of hitting them early, which I didn't do very well. I know this is going to sound really old school, but like I said, when this came in the arcade, I couldn't believe the graphics were so good. It's sad. It's sad, but it's true. And the sound effects, I mean, they looked and sounded like birds, space birds. Plus, this game had stages. Ooh, that was something that, you know, it had crazy stages. And by the way, the third stage of this is directly ripped off from Demon Attack. It was like a fancier version. And I love Demon Attack. I'm not here to bury it. That's another game the Intellivision had a really good version of back in the day. Awesome. Oh! Didn't get my shield up in time. Oh, yeah. Man. Man, I would love to beat these guys so I can get to that last area. I make no promises, though. I'm with my last man. That didn't help. Come on, you stupid bird. And they'll regrow their wings. Alright, here we go. Now, there's a trick to this. You climb all the way over here, and you start working this shield right here. And then that's where the shielding is the lowest, and that gives you more holes. Then you work on that main guy. I like when these guys hang out down here. So now we've got a couple holes. Now we're gonna go right up the middle, and I get shot. That's the problem with going right up the middle. Son of a gun! I didn't know it was even on the screen. Duh! Curses! We're gonna get out of this. We've got time for a few more before we call it a night. Anyone want to see anything in particular? We've got a pretty good selection here. I was wondering if they would have... Yeah, they've got a few real wackos. Your Metal Slug. I can't imagine the Metal Slugs are going to run that well, but we should probably give one a shot. Neo Drift. Now, wait a minute. I believe it is on here. Let me see here. Okay, let's look here. Do you remember seeing it? I could have sworn I saw it on here. Oh, boy. I don't know if it's on here or not. Let's go ahead and... Yeah. It might be... Yeah, it could be. Let me look up there. Let me look up here. That's another thing you have to get used to is... Oh, there's the King of Fighters stuff. So that's something else to have on here. Let's look up... Just for fun, we'll look under Drift. Elevator Action. That's another great game. Yeah, I don't see it. I could have sworn I saw it, but I may not have. I will look for it, and if I do another one of these, we'll earmark it early on. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of great ones on here, man. There's a lot of good stuff, like Galaga, of course. I own this machine, too, and it's a lot of fun. I'm pretty good at the arcade version. Of course, Golden Axe. Now, I wish they had the really great arcade Golden Axe that didn't get a home release. I'm hoping that gets put out here soon. You did see Indiana Jones. Me and my son beat Hook on here last night. I'll tell you, Hook was slow. It had some slowdowns. So Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones was an Atari game. Of course, I forgot to set the screen size. So we'll just go with what we've got here. So this was a... I'm not going to say it was horrible, but... you know, it was what it was. Let's find the whip. Here we go. We're going to go into the easy. Screw all those kids in medium and hard. They get nothing. I like the sound effects in this. You know, a lot of people did not like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I really liked it. I thought it was fun. Now, was it as good as the first one? No. But it was still fun, and I liked it a lot more than the third one. And the less said about the fourth one, the better. It was horrible. I liked Short Round. I thought he was cool. I liked the bit at the beginning where they're going down the cliff and the raft. I thought that was pretty amusing. Oh no. I was never any good at this game. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, captives. I want to get to this part. Which is sort of the best part. This seems to be running okay. Oh, no. Didn't even see that. Whoops. Don't slow down there, Indy. The digitized voices in it's great. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Now,
I'm not leaving here without snow.
I'm not 100% sure. Exit through the doors below Kali. Oh, I see. There we go. And that's all there is to it. You're safe, kid. I've heard they're making a new Indiana Jones, and I face that with a certain sense of dread, having seen the last offering. Whoa, shoot! Well, another skull for the pile. You know, the 2600 version of Raiders, which was I think that one was done by the same fellow that did E.T., wasn't it? Was that one of his? Oh, shoot. Now, actually, I thought it was pretty slick. The Atari version. Because, I mean, it was really... that's one of those games that you had to sort of understand what was going on at the time. I mean, that was a very unusual game when it came out. Another strange one was Crawl. The Atari version of Crawl was a really crazy game. You know, it was unusual and it was tough. I mean, those adventure games are really, you know, wacky. Woo! I'm starting to like this, guys. Not good. Oh no! Not bad. Howard Scott Warshaw. I believe he's the fellow that did it. I think. Same guy that also did, of course, he did E.T., which he's infamous for, but he also did Yar's Revenge, which is a good game for the Atari. We got time for one more quick one. You know, I promised to do Metal Slug. So let's see how this thing handles that. That should be a pretty difficult task. If I can find it. There it is. Did you like Crawl, John? You say you've got it. I thought it was a pretty good game. Alright. I have played Neo Turf Masters on this. And with some slowdown of the sound, one thing I've noticed on this thing is when you listen to it, you can often tell the slowdown. Like, I could tell right there, just by hearing that chime, that this is going to be slow. What do you guys think in the chat? Does this seem like it's running reasonably close to what you would expect to see in the arcade, or is it... mean, I will say control is fine. But I think part of the reason I'm having some success is the overall slowness of it. Alright. This is a strange game. Nothing more hilarious than like a Vietnam-style combat zone where you're just killing everybody. It's unusual. Oh, whoops. Forgot about that. Yeah, I would say, and you can tell by the sound, this one is a bit slow. So I think that one's probably one that I would not come back to. Well, I think that's it, y'all. It was enjoyable to go through and just play a bunch of games, try them out. Like I said, it's really the most I've sat down and messed with it for a while. That said, I don't want to think that don't want to make it look like that I'm condemning it. It's a good little system, you know, all things considered. Let me I'll grab it and actually put it on camera real quick. Let you at least see what the system looks like. Let's see here. Here it is. Retro-cade. You've got your USBs there. You've got your composites here, power, HDMI, and you've got your clicky full SD card slot in the back. It's a good system. If you are looking for something that's, you know, middle of the road, I would wager here soon you'll be able to pick these up for a better price, and they would make a nice gift. To be honest with you, if you've got a relative or with a child or somebody that doesn't care that much about authenticity, you know, I mean, sort of like the you know, the joysticks with the built-in games. This would be a step up, a nice step up, and it might be a good introduction into a different level of emulation. The Retro-bit guys that make this have talked about doing firmware updates for it, and they've been pretty good to their word. So there could be some speed ups coming, or even different games. And I've also heard that they were going to release games on their website. Although really, if you know where to go, that's sort of irrelevant, you know, to a certain degree. Well, I think that's going to do it. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, you know the word. Adios.